Today's video is one that I've been asked for a number of times in the comment section. A review on the RX 450h Plus plug-in hybrid. But today is a little more special than that. The one beside me might be the only one of its kind in all of Canada and maybe even the rest of the world. But of course, you'll have to wait to the end of the video to see why. I'm Dustin Mason from Performance Lexus in St. Catharines, and today's video, I'm going to be going over the RX 450h Plus. But before I get into that, I want to give a shout out to its new owner who gave me the opportunity to be able to film this vehicle. Someone who has supported me from the beginning with even some videos on Facebook that I started with, was always in the comments section, giving me shout outs and telling me doing a great job, and also being a big supporter of Performance Lexus for a number of years. Usman, thank you very much, not only for letting me film and drive your beautiful new RX 450h before you even got to, but also for the continued support, as Usman is also a very big Lexus enthusiast. So thank you very much for letting me do this video. So let's get right into it. The reason you might be interested in the 450h Plus is probably the powertrain. So under the hood, we have a 2.5 liter four-cylinder engine combined with not only a hybrid power plant, but also one with some EV personality to it and some EV components. The 2.5 liter takes regular gas, which is really nice. It has the benefits of a hybrid vehicle and also the benefits of a plug-in hybrid vehicle, meaning you can still plug it in every night and have some full EV power without having the range anxiety. So it might even be the perfect solution to the market right now. But don't just take it from me in the showroom. How about we actually take it for a drive? Okay, so super rare that I can actually drive one of these. So I am excited to feel a few things. I haven't spent a lot of time driving the RX 450h Plus. There is a lot to go over because it only comes one way, and that way is fully loaded. So I'm gonna focus right now more on how it drives in terms of the powertrain and those unique to the 450h Plus. I have it right now on HV mode. So HV is hybrid vehicle mode. So right now it's gonna act like a hybrid. We just started it up and it tells me that my EV range is 92 and my hybrid vehicle range is 903 kilometers. So that means just driving normally in hybrid mode, we can get 900 kilometers to a tank right now. And that's because the battery is fully charged. I have it in sport mode. I'm gonna kick that off actually. The only reason I did that was I had it idling and I was afraid that we were going to kill the battery. Normal mode, okay. So it's back into normal mode, HV mode. So now the engine's off. It's hybrid. I'm gonna punch it just a little bit. Okay, so automatically, it feels very different than a regular hybrid. And I read about this, so I was expecting it. It's because of that powertrain is also like a little bit more of a true EV powertrain. So a little bit more powerful output from the battery and the motor. It just feels more like there's a stronger connection between that battery and electric motor and the wheels, where on sometimes hybrids, that gas engine kicks on and you do feel on a normal hybrid that, you know, the hybrid motor drives you a little bit, like starts you off, and then you can really feel that obvious transition over to the gas motor. And on this one, I'm gonna do it again. It even sounds more like an EV. So there's two buttons down here in the middle. There's the hold charge button, where you can switch to EV mode and HV mode, and it's supposed to just keep that HV battery charged, I guess. And then the other one is the auto. You can turn it to auto EV HV, so it's gonna do what's best based on the driving conditions and the climate control and stuff. And then just full EV mode. So you can always get into full EV mode. So right now it's full EV mode. We're driving an EV right now. The gas engine is not on. It feels good. It's very smooth. There's no vibrations other than like the road, and this road's kind of bumpy. I'm doing like 40 or 50 right now. I'm just gonna punch it to see. Okay. So yeah, that's interesting. As expected, I don't feel any of the gas engine or anything when I did that just now. It just felt like an EV. But I will say that 50 km/h punch that I just did. It wasn't as throwback in my seat as it is from a dead stop or a dig, which is what I'm gonna do right now. Oh my God, yeah, that's good. That is good. All right, I could definitely get used to that. Okay, there's a lot of new buttons and depictions and pictures and stuff that I didn't expect. So I just noticed on the auto heater and, sorry, the auto seat climate, it's little things, but there is just a little bit different of a picture on the heated seat button. Also, the gauge cluster is definitely a little bit different because it shows that EV aspect. So on the left, it shows that I still have 100% charge. It shows I still have 42 kilometers on that charge, just strictly EV mode. And then it also shows my kilowatts per hour per 100 kilometers, which I don't know, I'm like around the 20 mark right now. It's fluctuating. So that's pretty cool. But overall, like, I think it's good. I really like the hybrids that Lexus and Toyota have been doing and their whole mindset behind it. If I had the money and I was in the market, I would do this almost just for that power plant. It's punchy. I'm a petrol head. Like, I like V8 and big turbochargers and stuff like that. And even I can appreciate that the driving sensation of this, like when you just punch it and it's just smooth, it's just powerful, it's torquey. And I know that I'm not gonna have range anxiety and I still have a gas engine if I want one by just hitting a button. Like I'm just gonna go back to auto, and now it's an auto. And when I punch it, oh, that's another interesting thing. So when I punch it in auto, the gas engine kicks on, but just real quick. Like it's just like, I know that's a really funny depiction I just did and definitely not scientific. We're usually in a hybrid, when the gas engine kicks on, it like kicks on and runs for a little bit. I'm just gonna try it again here from like a roll. Yeah, and then it shuts right off. Okay, so this powertrain is way different than I expected. It's not just a hybrid that has extra range. Even the way that when it's in auto mode, how it acts is different. So auto is probably how I would keep it if I wanted to be in EV mode. I would just keep it in auto EV mode because that gas engine can fire on when you need it. If I swap it over to, let's do that HV mode. So now we're in hybrid vehicle mode, not auto hybrid mode. It does. So even in hybrid mode, it has different characteristics than any other hybrid. So that's pretty cool. Let's talk a little bit more about what I'm seeing. So on the left side, I have that 100% charge. On the right side, I will say, because of all these new features, Lexus has a lot of things to pay attention to here. The distance to empty, obviously we have the HV and the EV. We also have all of my safety features that are turned on are depicted there. Also, whenever I see a sign, that traffic sign is being depicted there. So if I'm coming up to a stop sign, it's showing that. Right now, it's sort of just showing charge eco power. So like, for instance, when I'm slowing down, oh, that's what changes. Is it charging it, which it is. And then when I'm punching it, the power comes on. It also shows average fuel economy, stuff like that. That's all gonna be skewed because I had it idling. I noticed something when I was parking it though. It used to be that when you were in bird's eye view for any Lexus or Toyota, that front-facing camera had like an upside down blocker. It was kind of like an upside down triangle, hot dog looking thing. And now it's gone. So I don't know if maybe rules changed, but it's not there anymore. Nothing blocking that front camera at all. Fit and finish wise, obviously super comfortable drive, especially with my leg extender or my thigh support on. I think that's pretty cool. And I do love that I can move this passenger seat from up here. And that's a really rare LS feature. Okay, so while we're at a red light here and I'm not distracted driving, I did want to show the energy flow because again, this is a little different than what we're used to. So the energy flow, we have that picture of the car and it shows a plug in one side, like a wall plug, and then sort of like that EV plug on the other side of the battery. And then we have the gas engine at the front, that electric motor at the back, and then that electric motor in the center. And once we start moving, it's gonna come to life. So right now, because the mode I'm in, we can see that the battery is powering everything and sort of, now that gas engine just turned on. So when I turn off the gas engine, it'll show the electric motor just powering those front 2 wheels. If I punch it, it's gonna power the back wheels as well. And now that I slow down, it changes color and shows me charging that battery. And it still shows that the battery is full. So as the battery sort of depletes, it'll look different. And if I were to plug in, it would also show me plugged in and the power coming from that, which is pretty cool too. It also shows that the wheels are turning and that sort of thing. Little different from what we see on the normal RX. And there are these little differences everywhere. And I think, and I'll check the VIN when I'm not driving, I think it's because these ones are also Japanese made. So technically it's a different factory than the regular RX. So sometimes suppliers are different, sometimes it's like little tweaks and stuff like that. And yeah, we'll find those out sort of as we drive here. In that menu, we can also get to like our sport mode and eco mode. Sport mode changes the whole gauge cluster. I just have it in normal mode. And in a car like this, you can just leave it in normal mode, I think. I mean, you could do eco mode if you wanted, but I would just leave it. Another thing that I should mention because we're driving is if I wanted to be all gangster-like and drive like this, maybe like this, the car will sometimes beep at me. And that's because there is a driver monitoring device right here. And sometimes it'll say, hey, put your head up, or driver face is blocked. And that's because it thinks that something is in between me and the camera and it's not monitoring me. This one doesn't do it as much as my current demo right now, which is like the NX with that driver monitoring device, but it did do it a few times as we were driving. So there's that. On the screen while driving, I mean, when you're parked, you could also access some seat controls, some of those driving assist features. There's a lot of them. You could change the charging schedule, so you could actually have it where it charges the car, like leave it plugged in, but it'll charge the car only like on off-peak times, so like cheaper times, like midnight or something. Or you can set it up that it'll finish charging at a certain time too, which is kind of cool. Okay, so I guess I should talk about more than just what the 450h Plus gives you, because this is a fully loaded RX. So I recognize that even though I've talked about some of these features many times, I should make sure I don't discount them from you guys, from you viewers. So one of them is the heads-up display and the smart touch interface on the steering wheel. It is awkward at first because, again, there's like, where there's normally 4 buttons, there's technically 8 or 12 because you can like switch through pages and stuff like that. You will get used to it once you customize it, and it just becomes part of your everyday, to the point that I sometimes forget that I have a heads-up display, because to me, it's just an extra screen that I look at, and I'm just used to it. So I don't even think of it as being something different. So that's one of the things. The other thing that I never get to test out, and I still can't test out here, is the headlights. So because the RX is fully loaded, it has those triple beam on each side headlights that have the newest intelligent high beam system. Meaning at nighttime on a dark road, when a car is incoming, instead of just turning off all the high beams, it'll just turn off the part of the high beam, or like that particular bulb that is covering or shedding light on that object. Meaning the rest of the driver view is still super, super bright. And it's still, the headlights move and things like that too. So, one of the things that people forget about is driving something like a new fully loaded RX versus maybe like a 2009, is the experience at nighttime is a big difference. It's literally night and day. Little pun there, because those headlights have come such a long way, both in intelligence and also just in the quality of light that comes out of them. The other thing is the proactive driving assist. So this is a feature that actually out of the box isn't on, but you can turn it on, and I recommend you turn it on by pressing your little 6 buttons here and scrolling over all the way to the right. You'll see that proactive driving assist, and really what that does for us is an extra little bubble of safety, meaning as I'm driving around the city, if the person in front of me slows down and I don't have any cruise controls or anything on, my car will proactively start to slow down because it knows that that's what I'm going to want to do. And vice versa, if an object were to come out in front of me, or someone, you actually might feel a little bit in the steering wheel as well. And sometimes I do, even in lanes and stuff like that. So it's just exactly what it says. It's just being a little bit proactive. I have come to rely on it. There's been a few times where like I'll feel myself, get off the gas, and I just know that the car is going to slow down because of that proactive driving assist on. But even right now, I can sort of feel it in the steering wheel. The road I was on was a little wavy, and I'm actually feeling it brake right now. And it knows what I want it to do. I haven't really had it surprise me in any way in terms of like, oh, I didn't want to do that. Other than one time, you know, I went to go change lanes and I didn't turn the signal on early enough. So the car was like, hey, why are you changing lanes? Like it was just kind of, you know, gave me a little nudge in that sense. But that is a really underrated feature. But also all the other Lexus standard safety stuff, you know, the radar cruise, the lane departure, stuff like that. This one has the auto park feature. I've done many videos on the auto park feature. It does a really good job for what it is. Are you gonna use it every day? Probably not, unless you're gonna show your friends how cool your car is where it can park itself. And remember, Lexus had that going back to like the early 2000s in the LS, and that version of it wasn't that great. This new one does a pretty good job, you know, lets you select where you're gonna park and things like that. We have that driver monitoring, and with that, we have traffic jam assist. So if you're on the highway and you're coming up to some traffic, the car can actually sort of take over and let you actually let go of the steering wheel and rest a little bit. But you have to keep your eyes forward. You can't just have a nap because the car will know that and kick it off. Wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto, all of that system from the big screen. We have the digital rearview mirror, which I have on right now. The first time you go to do that, you might feel a little motion sick, but I promise you, you'll get over that. All right, I can't promise you. I shouldn't make those types of promises. I got over it, and I felt a little motion sick the first time I did it. It has the Mark Levinson sound system, which is very high quality, good for a lot of different genres of music. When I worked at the factory and I would install the speakers, the regular sound system is still a really good quality speaker, but when you would hold the Mark Levinson speaker beside it, you could visibly see and also feel the difference in quality. A little bit bigger magnet, a little bit stronger construction, and that leads to a crisper, more fuller sound. Fuller, if that's a word, fullest. The hip hop songs that I listen to, it feels a bit more full, but it doesn't necessarily have like a crazy amount more bass from like a subwoofer, because both have a subwoofer. Maybe there's a bit more bass coming out of like the fronts, but for like quality, it's definitely a step up. And now, back to the dealership. Okay, so now that we are back in the showroom at the dealership, let's just review some of the styling. So on the front end here, we have that new frameless Lexus grille. It sort of has some gray in the middle with some actual black trimmed off on the side. This particular one is the pearl white. I don't know if you can see it in here right now, but in the sunshine, it has a lot of depth and color to it. And the bottom is sort of like that matte black color, as well as the sides. Now, sometimes when a vehicle is built in Japan versus the North American plants, sometimes things like the blacks and grays might be a little bit different, but never in a bad way, that's for sure. It also has the triple beam LED headlights with adaptive high beams, that beautiful daytime running light. We still have some wiper jets here to clean off those wipers from, you know, bugs and salt and stuff like that, as well as a bunch of parking sensors and front-facing cameras without that blockage that we've seen in previous years. A heated Lexus emblem, because that's where that radar sensors and things like that are. So on the side profile, we have a 21-inch alloy wheel with a Bridgestone Altenza tire, very smooth, not much road noise, still decent grip. You know, I don't know too much about the tire, but I know that it drives quite well. Also, we have these color match fender flares, and I think what Usman has done with the tinted windows on the front really ties in that black and white accents. So normally the RX 450h would have just the rears tinted, but Usman has protected from UV rays and made it look a little bit cooler by tinting the front glass to match as well. And things like these mirror caps and the black on the door handles really ties in that black and white look, I think. Speaking of door handles, it does have the electronic latch, which is one of my favorites. So as you go to get in it, there's just that little pad on the inside. As you go to lock it, you just touch a little dimple. And then when you get out of the inside, you sort of do it in one sweeping motion. In terms of body lines, we have a really nice sweeping one here at the bottom that any of the pearl colors really accentuates. And same with this upper edge that sort of flows upward at the back of the vehicle. In the pearl colors, you can really see that. In some of the lighter, like maybe silver colors, it doesn't seem as prominent, but in the pearl white, it definitely does. Then we trim it all off in some chrome, which sweeps back to that sort of final quarter and the back end of the RX. Okay, so as we approach the rear of the passenger side, this is one of the first hints at the fact that this is a 450h Plus, and that is the plug-in side of the vehicle. So we have this plug on this side, and on the other side is the gas door, which it usually is. So this is where you would plug your vehicle in, either on a level 2 charger or level 1 charger, whatever you have, and the car will tell you how long it'll take to charge, which on a level 2 isn't too long. And then when you're done, you just put this little cap back on, shut it, and of course when the vehicle is locked, you can't unplug it or open up that door. As we transition to the back of the RX 450h, you might notice, if you haven't figured it out by now, why I said this particular one is the most unique one. And that is, this bottom piece here is not what you would traditionally find on an RX 450h Plus. In fact, you would only find this particular setup on something like an RX 500h. However, Usman, being a car enthusiast and a Lexus enthusiast, did his own research and found out that if he customized it, you could fit, after some work, the 500h bottom to the 450h Plus, because there is no F Performance or F Sport in the 450h Plus. And I think it very well suits it. It adds a little bit more sporty and flash to that rear. So we have sort of that F Sport grille on the side. We have the piano black accents, as well as some really nice fins and ledges to that rear diffuser. And it looks like it should be there. In fact, it ties in that whole black and white look for the rest of it. We have that taillight that goes from one side to the other, underlying the LEXUS. We have the RX 450h Plus all-wheel drive, which I know sounds like a mouthful, but still, at least you'll be able to know what it is. And then we have also that tucked away rear wiper that I love. I wish more Lexuses would have that. So that sort of just comes down sweeping. And I even have a video on how to change that. So even though it's tucked away, it is really easy and accessible. And a question I always get in the comments is, does this trunk get smaller with some of these plug-in hybrids? And the answer is no. Back here, we have a very similar trunk setup to any of the executive RXs. We have some buttons to fold down the rear seats. We have some grocery hooks. We have a 120 volt plug-in wall outlet, which is great for like a cooler or a beach day. And then underneath, we actually have a little bit more storage for things like the books and medic kits and stuff like that, and the regular car batteries. So underneath this panel here, we have the 12 volt battery. So that's where you would boost it if you ever killed the battery for some reason. That's under there. So no, there isn't much space or any space sacrificed from going to the plug-in hybrid. Okay, so sitting in the RX 450h Plus, let me show you a few things. So this particular one is the peppercorn interior. We have a mix of ultra suede and leather. And being that it's a Japanese-made vehicle, and it is Japanese-made, the fit and finish is very, very nice. There is no sacrifices here for going to this model. In fact, the ultra suede is very soft and is in all the right places. Places like the top of the door panels, up sort of on that second layer of dash, and then nicely trimmed on the sides of the seats. And the seats themselves, being that it's that executive layout, is very comfortable. The leather feels very soft, especially sometimes even when like a car has cooled seats, it doesn't have as like soft as seats. This one, you don't notice any sacrifice, and it has the thigh extension, which is so important to me. I can't even tell you how important that is. So for tall people like myself, it really supports underneath my legs. Other than that, we have the new style shifter. We have some matte black accents to go with that peppercorn interior. And when you're sitting in it, the peppercorn doesn't seem super, off-putting or much contrast. It just gives it a little bit nice of a lighter texture to the interior than a traditional black. For the most part, it still feels like a black interior though. I did notice an Easter egg. So on this model, we have something that we only usually see on the LS, which is our flagship sedan. And that is some extra switches here on the passenger seat so that even the driver or the passenger in the back can recline and move forward. Now, the reason this was on the LS in previous models, and still is in the LS, is so that that executive that's sitting in the back seat can move this front seat up and out of the way, or if the driver needs to move it, they can move it up and out of the way. So that was a really nice surprise that I didn't know and I didn't see in the brochure. So I think that was really cool that Lexus added that. Just one of those little Easter eggs. On the dashboard, we do have some new symbols and gadgets and things like that, mainly because it being an EV or an HEV. We have things like a battery gauge, a distance to empty for both EV and HV, and obviously all the new safety stuff as well. That all is controlled by the screen or on the steering wheel controls, which you saw me demonstrate in previous. Then to turn on things like the bird's eye view, you just press this little camera button here. I usually leave it in auto so that when I slow down, it turns on that front-facing camera, goes into the bird's eye view, and we have the auto park feature right to the left of that. Down in the center console, we have some new buttons here. So we have our typical train select and traction control off, as well as brake hold, etc. But then we have these two new buttons. One of them is labeled HV, EV, hold charge, or maybe it's hold, comma, charge. Then we have auto, HV, and EV. And you saw me demonstrate those on the drive where they sort of change what the vehicle is prioritizing. So you can have it in full HV, you could have it in charge, where it's charging up the HV system. You could have it just, hybrid mode. And then you can also just have it where it goes auto. So it'll switch between the two whenever you want it to. So I can't decide how I like it. Probably auto, EV, HV, but I don't quite know yet because I do like just the way it drives in general. The cup holders are the classic RX ones where, you can put that venti Starbucks drink in there, and then we have some wireless charging and USB-Cs in the center. And then we go to the big screen, which I've done many videos of how to use and set up, and it is the same as all the other RXs. And same with the heads-up display with the intelligent touch, it's the same as any RX. And being fully loaded, we have that, digital rear mirror, we have the Mark Levinson sound system, and like I said, for the most part, just a really well put together luxury interior for the RX 450h Plus. So in the backseat, the comfort continues. We have some ultra suede trim. The seats themselves are very soft and comfortable. We also have these blinds that can go up and block out all the haters, as I call it, and a center armrest that has a little bit of storage and some cup holders that I'll leave the plastic on for now. Obviously, the new feature is being able to move that seat out of your way if you wish. And we also have heated and cooled seats in the center with our own climate control for back here. The panel roof gives us some extra light in this back seat as well. And overall, a very comfortable and luxurious back seat for this SUV. Also being the best of the best, we have power for recline of these rear seats. The switch is just sort of on the sides at the bottom, and that's how you can recline them to get a bit more comfortable. So there you have it, an in-depth look at the RX 450h Plus, which might be the car of no sacrificing. Meaning, you don't have to sacrifice luxury, feel, craftsmanship, and fuel economy and range to be able to get everything you want. And it might be the answer to going EV versus maybe like a hybrid, because no range anxiety, great fuel economy, that power that you get from an EV, and for the average commuter, maybe around town, you could probably just have it where that tank of gas lasts you like months, or a month at least, because you're gonna plug it in every night, and then you'll have that gas engine for if your plans change and you need to go on a road trip really quick. So, thank you for watching. I'm Dustin Mason from Performance Lexus. Usman, enjoy your new RX, and thank you for letting me film it. Let me know in the comments below what you think of this video and the new RX 450h Plus, and I'll see you in the next video.